Big ideas in small bites. This is Bite Sized, brought to you by Accenture.
Hello and welcome to Bite Sized. EDF is a household name supplying millions of customers with electricity and gas. They are at the forefront of helping Britain to achieve net zero. They are tackling climate change by leading the transition to a cleaner, low-emission electric future. Energy companies have not always been famed for the quality of their customer service, so I'm delighted today to be joined by Richard Hughes, Director of Retail at EDF, where they have recently completed a transformation of their technology platform and their operating model, migrated almost 6 million customer accounts, and simultaneously improved their customer service rating to excellent. Today, we're going to delve into EDF's transformation journey and how they've put the customer at the heart of their business to deliver excellent customer service, whilst also driving the shifts that are needed on the journey towards net zero. So I'm going to start, please, by asking you to set the scene for us a little bit. We heard from the UN climate change chief at Davos this year that the world is undergoing an energy transition that is unstoppable. And at the heart of your strategy is affordable clean energy. Can you tell us a bit more about the current backdrop for energy and utility companies and the need and the urgency to transform?
I think it's quite a tough moment, isn't it? You said there it's unstoppable, and you also said it needs to be affordable. And I think that is the moment that we're in now, where we know we have to change these things. It is going to come. The question is how soon and how do we pay for it? How do we make sure that people see and feel the benefits of it now? Because a lot of what we're trying to prevent is disaster in the future.
Okay, so we don't have to have a trade-off, actually. We can drive both. And I think that's also at the heart of your philosophy, your commitment. You've got a clear commitment to deliver excellent customer service, improve the employee experience, create quality jobs around the UK, and drive innovative net zero products and services. There's 4 big ambitions there. And as we know, it can be hard to keep those ambitions in harmony, particularly when you're driving a big business transformation. Can you tell us a bit about how did you start and how did you square that circle to keep those 4 objectives aligned rather than in tension?
We've had several tries at this and we've got bits of those 4 things right along the way, but never sort of perhaps all 4 of them. And I think there's probably a couple of bits that have, I would say, helped us unlock that. The first one is recognizing that as much as we would really like to be talking about net zero products and shifting load and all that kind of stuff right now, if I can't get someone's direct debit right, then I can't talk about that. You know, who's going to buy a heat pump from me if I can't get their smart meter working? So, you know, you have to earn the right to get to that point. And I think that was one of our big realizations, really, is that, you know, customer service is not just a sort of hygiene factor. It's essential to unlock those technology and that change for us, as I think it is for the UK in general.
Hard earned but easily lost, I suppose, is customer loyalty and customer trust.
And maybe we didn't have it in the first place, not wholeheartedly, as you said, in the industry. It's not like we haven't been trying to deliver good service either. So I think that probably the thing for us in unlocking that was to recognise that to be customer first, you have to be people first and put your people first, because they are the front line, whether they're speaking on the phone, emailing a customer, or whether they're designing a web journey or a product or marketing or working in HR, supporting those people who are doing that. I think that has been probably the thing that's been the biggest breakthrough for us, is we had a group of people who wanted to do the right thing, but as is often in the case in large corporations, you sort of, inadvertently prevent people from doing the right thing with policies and so on. And so that's been the big shift for us, is trying to turn the organization upside down. The people who are dealing with customers are the most important people, and they need to be free and empowered and given the tools to help that customer solve that problem.
Right, so that principle kind of at the heart of the transformation journey that you've just embarked on, can you tell us a bit more then about how you put that into practice? So how did you put your people at the heart of designing and delivering that technology platform that you've put in place?
Yeah, so the technology platform is Kraken. So we did a really careful due diligence, and what's interesting about it is it isn't just a technology platform. It does come with a way of working, and I think what we've done is we've embraced that, but also brought our own skills to bear on that operating model. We're not a startup, so we don't sort of need particularly loads of beanbags and things. I couldn't get up from a beanbag if I sat down on it. we have people who've worked in this business for 40 years. They know an incredible amount. So if you can give them an operating model, a platform, and if you can take away stupid rules that prevent them from doing their job well, that's all they want to do. They're not in this industry. People don't stay in this industry for 40 years unless they want to do good, to help customers, to impact climate change. So what we've actually found is that if you do that, and if you let people free, then they'll do the right thing. They'll help the customer.
And how have you seen the teams respond to that on the ground?
Really well. We've seen big step ups in our engagement. You can feel it around the office. We can see it in our statistics. We measure it all the time. You can feel it in the atmosphere, in the way people are talking to each other, in how they dress. You can see it and you can feel it.
Right, maybe a different level of pride, perhaps, in the work that people are doing and the impact that they're having?
It's about being yourself. People are more comfortable bringing, their true selves to work, being their true selves, not having to feel like they've got to pretend to be something corporate that they're not. The customers we're dealing with are, residential customers are not big corporations. They're you and me on the phone trying to deal with a query about a bill. And they want to speak to someone in Doxford or Exeter or Hove who understands completely and is there to help them out.
It's interesting, Richard, what you mentioned about bean bags and creating a different kind of cultural work experience for people. We've talked on the podcast about how with the kind of rise of digital, lots of companies have tried to become more tech-centric, perhaps try to emulate or imitate what some of the technology companies do and how they operate. Whereas actually in some of the conversations I'm having with businesses, there's more now of a focus on being really brilliant at our core purpose and actually as authentic as we can in terms of our own brand to attract and retain the right talent. Does that resonate with you from EDF's perspective?
Definitely. I think that's part of why I think people have bought into the operating model change. For people who've been here a longer time, in some ways it feels like going backwards, not forwards. The idea is that you have a team of people who own a group of customers, 12 to 15 people, mostly sat around a table. We used to be the regional electricity boards. We would have small local regions where you would have a little office or department whose job it was to look after the local community. So for many of our people who've worked here a long time, this is sort of back to the future.
Right, absolutely.
This is technology enabling a very old-fashioned idea of a small team owning a specific group of customers and caring about them.
People interactions powered by best-in-class technology, but as you say, going back to very traditional principles of brilliant customer service, excellent customer service.
Yeah, exactly. So for many of our people, the technology, they don't even notice it. The technology shouldn't be a thing. It should just work. And then you should just be able to do the important bit, which is speaking to a customer and solving their problem.
I know you pride yourself in providing brilliant jobs across the UK. How do you go about making sure that you deliver consistency to the customer base across different regions?
The way the customers are allocated are not regional, but they're more sort of distributed by types of customer. But the problem with small call centres is they're not very efficient. So that, again, what the technology allows is overflow. So it means that you get the best of both worlds. You get that kind of that you don't get that long wait on the phone, but most of the time you're dealing with that same group of 12 people. Sometimes, you've got a 1 in 12 chance when you call, you'll end up speaking to the same person, and people are shocked when they literally, we're a 1,000-person plus organisation, but when you call, you get through to the same person you spoke to last time.
And it reframes, in many ways, the customer relationship, because the relationship for many customers has started to feel quite anonymous. You speak to an organisation, you don't necessarily speak to an individual, but this is going back to the future, as you say, towards something that is much more about a long-standing and enduring relationship.
Exactly. And coming back to your point about consistency, there is a minimum level of consistency and standards, but actually we encourage difference. We encourage people to bring their personality to the interaction. So we actually don't encourage consistency. I don't want scripts. I don't want a sort of a really anodyne conversation. We encourage people to bring themselves. A human being talking to a human being is a much different relationship. Like you say, it doesn't feel like you're just dealing with some faceless, personalityless corporation.
Right. It's something that in many ways is traditional but is novel at the same time, which I think is fascinating. And
it's really hard to do at scale.
Yes.
That's the difference. Like you get lots of companies start up and they can have this great thing when they're small, but how do you do it when you've got 5 million customers? How do you still feel like you're dealing with one person? Well, it's because you are.
And what has been the secret to your success then in driving that scale? Because as you say, it's over 5 million customers.
I think that is where the technology and the operating model really matter. I think for us, having a group of colleagues who are really committed, I think it's that combination of great people enabled by technology that you sort of don't even really notice.
And embarking on a technology transformation in parallel with the operating model, not
Exactly.
trying to do them in series or one without the other. I'd like to go on to talk a little bit more about the energy transition, Richard. As we transition to more renewable energies, we are increasingly reliant on the weather, which is already a great British obsession and going to become even more important to us in this country. That clearly changes how we need to think about power and the demand on the grid in particular. And I know you are needing to be more innovative with your customers, trying to shift demand away from peak times and also empower customers to make informed energy decisions. Again, it's another very significant challenge that you've got. Can you tell us a bit more about what it means and how are you approaching it?
It's a big change from where we produced power stations to match what a customer was going to use. When the kettle goes on at the same time in households around the country, it's a big shift to going the other way and saying, here's when the power's being produced, what can you use now when it's available, when it's readily available? And I think we recognise that is a big shift, which is why I kind of come back to the point about service and trust. You've got to trust someone quite a lot. If you've got to get to work tomorrow in your car and you're going to say, okay, EDF, just make sure my car is charged, make sure it's at the cheapest price, the lowest carbon time, but just make sure it's charged. It's quite a lot of trust. And I think that's the point about why you have to start with service. And I think the next bit then is, at the moment we see lots of very exciting and innovative tariffs out there, but they're often for energy enthusiasts, I would say, and I say that as a self-proclaimed energy geek. But that's not what most people want, really. Most people just want to come home, plug their car in, turn the kettle on, put the washing machine on. And so this, again, is where technology becomes really important and why the technology platform and that integration is also really important. So start with the trust. But then if you can actually do things for a customer, if they can trust you, and then you can make it easy, like with electric vehicles, you can come home, plug in, and then we can tell how much your car needs to charge, how many hours it's going to take, and we can pick the lowest price and the lowest carbon time to do it. And I think this is how we break down some of the barriers of net zero. It has to actually be better for people, cheaper and more convenient.
And feel easier, to your point, more convenient. And there is a big mindset shift there, isn't there? We've been very used to having energy on tap.
Yeah.
You mentioned the sort of kettles round the country all going on at the end of Coronation Street or whatever it is. And the grid has been designed in order to cater to that kind of demand. Whereas actually now we either need to shift our mindset as customers that we need to time our energy demand, or you as the energy providers can help us by making it so that we don't even need to think about it because you're doing it for us. Clearly, we need to trust that that will work. So it feels to me the reliability of the technology is absolutely at the heart of how you prove that, because it's one of those things where customers will need to adopt this more and more. How are you going about making sure that my first experience as a customer is one that delights me and makes it more convenient and something that I can trust going forward?
Making sure the service is right in the first place, because you can't have any of this without that foundation. Then we're sort of working in two parallel avenues. We recognise that in any market, early adopters help shape it.
Right.
They help give confidence. We've got innovation pilots, and we're rolling out a bunch of innovative but fairly techie products. The other thing that we're trying to do in parallel is create really simple versions of these things. So often they're what I would call kind of no regret tariffs. So you've got a standard variable price at the moment, and most people are on that. So we've got a range of tariffs, whether it's for your heat pump or what have you, where we offer a discount off the standard variable rate at a certain period of time, or if you've got one of those applications. So you can't lose. It's
win-win for the customer.
It's just win-win. If you're currently on standard variable and you're charging your electric vehicle and you're a bit nervous about, you just cannot lose. During this time, it's cheaper. And so it doesn't matter how big your home consumption is. You don't have to do some complicated mathematical equation of my home versus my car versus my mileage. It's just like, I cannot lose. And then once you're up and running, then you can take more confident steps. So we're trying to sort of work at the problem from sort of two directions, from that sort of tech innovation pull and helping people take gentle, no regret baby steps to help them build the confidence.
I just want to pick up on what you mentioned about energy enthusiasts. With the rise of smart household technology to manage your energies, are you seeing more energy enthusiasts amongst your customer base? Are you seeing any kind of trends?
We definitely do, and it's partly through energy enthusiasm, just the pure, unbridled enthusiasm for the topic, and also money.
Right.
So we have a thing called Sunday Saver at the moment, where if you shift your usage from peak hours in the week, you can save up to 16 hours at the weekend. We see people who really need to save money, and they really want to save money, and they will, work hard and put the time in to work out how they can shift their energy usage to save those extra few pounds. The other one is they recognise it's how you do the right thing, how you can help the environment and the planet.
Let's talk then about transformation. Clearly, it's been a very successful transformation. I think not only did you successfully migrate all of your almost 6 million customer accounts, the Trustpilot scores jumped, and at the same time you were rated Best Energy Company in the Office Vibe Global Employee Experience Leader Awards. Congratulations. Like we said, keeping those ambitions in harmony at once. What would be your key piece of advice for a company in any industry, whether it's the energy industry or anything else, who are embarking on a customer transformation?
I think the single most important lesson for me was that we actually did make it better for colleagues. I think people say, culture change takes a long time and transformations are difficult and so on. And there's no doubt this transformation has been difficult as well. There's been hard yards, but it actually created a better job, a better working environment. People are able to have autonomy about what type of work they do during a day. They can choose whether they're doing emails or handling a complaint or doing calls. You have autonomy and agency. There are opportunities to progress, to earn more money, to develop your career. The work environment is better. You can be yourself. So it's actually better. So it's much easier to get people on the bus when the bus is going somewhere that most of them actually want to go. So that's my one piece of advice, is if you want people to buy into it, then make it actually better.
Make it actually better and make it clear how the destination is going to be actually better.
Exactly. And maybe not everyone wants to go there, but as long as it's better for most people, then we have found that most people get on the bus very quickly and very willingly and start driving it if you're not careful.
Brilliant. Richard, last time we spoke, we talked about the importance of the weather for renewable energy, and you talked to me about Dunkelflaut. Can you remind me?
I think that's how you pronounce it. I pronounce it Dunkelflaut. I think what it means, it's the closest I've heard is the doldrums.
Right.
But I think it's where not only is the wind not blowing, but it's a bit cloudy and grey as well. So if you think about it from a renewables perspective, that means the wind turbines aren't working and the solar panels aren't working.
No energy.
No energy from renewables. So yeah, that's obviously a big challenge, and that's where we need things like batteries and interconnectors. And I was looking at an interesting chart the other day that showed that it's pretty much always windy somewhere in Europe. It is really important that we are connected to other countries.
So how do you think beyond the confines of one country when we're thinking about renewables, but how do you
think about
access the weather more globally?
Exactly.
And finally, I want to ask you the question that we ask all of our guests here on Bite Sized. Can you tell us what is it that you're reading or listening to at the moment that's giving you inspiration or pause for thought?
I'm reading a book called Prisoners of Geography that was recommended to me by a friend, and it's fascinating. It's about how geography sort of influences culture and politics, the nature of the physical environment that your country is in. And I've just moved off Russia and on to China. So yeah, it is fascinating. I recommend it.
Right, absolutely fascinating. And it's a favourite recommendation here at Bite Sized. And I think having talked about the weather today, its impact on our energy transition, it's very appropriate. Thank you, Richard, for joining us today. It has been a fascinating discussion on the energy transition, on how to drive a successful transformation, and on how you're putting the personal back into customer service. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to our listeners. This has been Bite Sized.